What's up, y'all? Today we're going to be going over a sick graphic that to me sort of resembles like an album cover or something like that. Obviously it's sports related. Without further ado, let's jump right in and I'll show you what I did. So first up, we have the text at the bottom. This is just one font, gold, and the other font in these mountains. You can use any two fonts. I think these are both different styles of tungsten. And to make the gold pop, I have this gradient overlay on it. If you want something to pop, put an overlay on it. Opacity set to 50%, set to overlay, to linear gradient, and it just makes it look better than it was. Then we have G-Star Creative, or what would have been the recruit's name. This is a screen layer of the outline of what we're about to make, so that will come in later. Basically, that's supposed to be like a glow. So then I have this circle to start out the design, basically like figuring out where I wanted it. Obviously, that's just an ellipse. You can make that by clicking this ellipse thing, holding down shift, and then dragging out, and it will make you a circle. I found this picture of a chain online, then I just cut it out, which was kind of annoying to do. And then I have on top of that an inner shadow on color dodge, so that's what's giving it this yellow glow up top. Then we have a shadow set to linear burn coming from the bottom left, as you can see right here on this edge. And then we have a color overlay. So that is what the chain originally looked like, which looks good. I mean, that's what it, naturally would look like. But I wanted it to be like the app state, yellow or gold. So I put our color over top, set it to overlay, and that is how I got the effect on the chain. I have these shadows brushed on for what's going to be on top of it later, and it's literally just a black brush. Click on the brush, make it black, make it soft, so lay down here at the bottom, and then just brush that in. Super simple. That's set to linear burn, 85%. Then we have this picture of what looks like a runny turd going down at the bottom. Then I just put an oil paint on that to smoothen out the edges a little bit. It doesn't do much, but it just kind of smooths it out. Obviously I cut this out because that's what it looked like before. And then I had an overlay effect on it as well. So I just put our yellow color, put it on color dodge, put it on top, and this is what it looks like. Give it an inner shadow, and that's why it has that yellow effect on the bottom left. So that's what it looks like without, that's what it looks like with. And then we have the mountain picture. So this is what it originally looked like. So I just cut that out because I was only using like certain parts of it, and put a color overlay on that as well. You just double click the layer, this box will come up, use the yellow, set it to overlay, and that's what gives it that effect. I gave that a little bit of an outer glow, not much, but just pretty subtle. Set that to screen. Usually when I use a glow, I set it to screen. And then I have another one of those for different parts of the mountain look. And on that I have a color overlay. I did not use the outer glow on that one. And just put that in a mask to cut it out. Make sure it's in a circle. And then one last one over here on the left, and that has got all the same effects on it with a drop shadow, so that there's some depth between this cutout and these other mountains. And that also has a circle layer mask on the group. So if you just put the picture in a group, put a layer mask on the group, and then you can cut it out. And all you have to do there is just control click a circle, or control click another layer mask that's a circle, and then just put it onto that group. So now I have a curves layer down here at the bottom to just kind of darken it up down here, and then a curves layer just to give it more contrast, which I think looks really good. Makes it go from just kind of like a boring, almost orangey look to like a more of a yellow gold, just like with some more contrast and stuff. Then we have the shadow of the player, and that's just a drop shadow layer with some different like Gaussian blurs and things on it to make it look a little more accurate. That's something you can mess around with. So then we have the actual player, and he's got a camera raw filter and oil paint. So that's like what the picture originally looked like. I think I actually took a helmet off of a different photo and put it on top of this player's head, because you could see the player's head and the numbers were probably different. So I changed it to 23 because that's the class that we were recruiting, then put his helmet over top, and put an oil paint layer on, and then I think the edges had a little bit of white to it, so I just put a black stroke on the outside to take that away. So then we added the runny turd layer to the bottom of him, and then I put these both into a group to do a cartoonified effect. So you start by putting hue saturation layer, put the saturation all the way down, put a black and white layer on top of that, then use a color fill and set it to hard mix, and you know it's on green right now. You can kind of change that around, mess with it. And then a gradient map, and I just put that from white to gold to black, and that is how it looks now. So it looks like almost like a cartoonified effect. Don't want that. And then I put another layer over top of that, which is just the regular player again. So what I want to do is like have a split effect of like a real life player and the cartoonified player. So as you can see, it looks like he's just like cut out halfway. So half of him is real, half of him is like the cartoon look. And on that, we have a camera raw filter and some different effects to make it look like it's more cracked. Then I found this gold texture and set it to luminosity, and then put the same layer mask from below up here. So I just use this layer mask. If you hit Control and click that layer mask and then go up here, you can just click on this group and click the layer mask option, and it'll make the same exact layer mask. So that's what I did for that. This one's set to luminosity, and this one is also set to luminosity, but I just changed, I think like this first one, I didn't like the way it looked up here. It's like a little more zoomed in and less high quality, so I just took the same thing and moved it up a little bit, so it's just kind of the same look over the whole body. Then on that whole cutout group, we have an inner shadow to kind of give the edges a little more contrast. And this is just an inner shadow and a drop shadow. Color dodge, you can see it just gives it that brighter edge and a little bit of drop shadow. Not much, but some subtle things. So then I brightened that whole thing up with the curves layer, gave it another kind of inner glow around the edges. And then this is just another inner glow layer that I turned into a separate layer, and that just kind of gives it that yellow edge coming from the top right, so like the light is like hitting it from this direction. So then I added on another mountain piece, the same effects as the other ones, masked it to the circle, and then I put these effects on the whole thing. An inner shadow set to color dodge, just kind of gives the outer edge up here the brighter yellow look, and then the edge on the left side a little more of a darker look. Then I had some 3D text that I put in, so I just removed part of it, and this is what it originally looked like. So I just used the gold and green to kind of give it some contrast, and then I just cut out the green part using the eraser tool. If you just click the green part, it just takes away the green. And then I made a layer mask on that, put a color overlay on top of that to make it black, and then I changed the 23 to white, and I tried some different effects, including this one with like the diamonds, but I just didn't like how it looked as much. So I made that white, then I left the outside gold, and then I put these effects on it to make it pop a little more, an inner glow, set the linear dodge. You can just tell it makes that gold pop a lot, and then just a drop shadow to kind of give it some depth between these 3D words and the like amulet thing in the background. And then I started adding in some lens flares just in different places to give it some more poppiness. And basically all these are, if you have a lens flare brush, or you can find lens flare brushes online, so you just go over here to your brushes, they'd be down in here. You can find a bunch of different free brushes online. Then you just click, obviously, with a white paintbrush, and you have one white and one gold, or like whichever color your design is. So if it's like a blue design, you'd use one white and one blue, or one white and one green, you know, whatever color your design is, and put them exactly over top each other, and put the color one on top and set it to screen. And then you can mess around with the opacities and the fills to kind of blend them into each other and mess with like the brightness of them. But that's basically what all these are. Then I just used a screen layer with a yellow brush and just kind of brushed in some places that I wanted to highlight. Nothing too particular, just give certain areas a little more pop. And then this is just that same background layer. I didn't like this little kind of dark area, so I put that in and just kind of filled that up with some light. Then we have like the same lighting I use a lot with like the light coming from the top right. It's just a white brush that softly fades in, and our color correction, bottom info that we always put on graphics, and then a slight tweaking to make it a little less orange and a little more yellow. If you want access to Photoshop files like this one and others that I've made, check out my Patreon. If you like this video and learned something, subscribe and check out this next video.